guys, welcome back to Spirit Show. So we're going to talk about karmic lessons. Of course, there's a bunch of other videos about karmic relationships, why we go through these things, what is the purpose, why are you here to traumatize me, planet? But no, seriously, we're going to talk about like why these sort of dynamics actually exist and their purpose, their deeper purpose, because a lot of the things we can't really perceive outside of our own limited consciousness. So it's just something to try to gain a deeper insight on. But if you are new to this channel, I do 3 card pull readings for at least most of my videos just to kind of get a confirmation of the energy. And just, yeah, I don't pre-select these cards. But yeah, let's get into it. So the first card that I pulled was the Prince of Pentacles. I think this is really ideally the most interesting, mostly for me, but we go through these karmic relationships, these karmic people who come into our life, and they serve value, they serve purpose, and it's almost like in a lot of ways they serve themselves on this gold platter, and it's like super shiny and delicious and pretty, and we just like we want to go and reach for it and grab it, and it's like candy, so we walk all the way over these paths and avoid all of this other stuff. We don't look at any of the like obstacles. We don't look at any of like the danger involved with trying to go after this plate of candy, and like there could be like this trench of doom like right in between us, and we would just fall into the pit of doom and not even realize it because we were too fixated on the golden platter. So that's just something to think about. But the Empress energy is actually the second card that I pulled. So, you know, you could be this high priestess, you could be this empress and have all of this majestic beauty about you, and that sort of thing will really attract some energy vampires, some really stagnant souls. They are attracted because you have mastered the law of attraction, and so these people will come through and, you know, make promises or just show you this side of them that is you know, their illusionary side. They're not really honest about who they are, and so they can show you this illusionary ideal of who they are, and you it's really up to you to see past that and kind of like stand your guard. You know, not be like in full combat defense mode, but you gotta protect yourself because there's some real snakes out there, yo, and we gotta be careful because people, especially in the spiritual realm, they are predators. There's predators, and I'm not talking about like the really creepy kind. I'm talking about those sneaky bastards, like, like those people who will like pretend to have all of this stuff figured out in life, and then like when you really get to know them, like their true demons start to show, and it's like, well, yeah, I fell for it. So, you know, but your intuition is something that you're really mastering, and that's the most important and the most like the thing that you should be focused on is your intuition, because your intuition, like 9 out of 10 times, will never lie to you. Especially when there's other people involved, like for the most part, honestly, like I'm not talking about like these paranoid folks. I love you, but you know, some of us, we're overthinkers and we think too hard about a situation, and then we put like these fake scenarios in our head. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like people who really hide in the shadows, people who will like make these promises and tell you all kinds of things about themselves, and then eventually like their true colors shine. Like, oh, it's very ideal to trust your intuition, especially when people show you who they are at first and you don't take heed to that warning. It's like a big giant red flag, right? We talk about red flags, psychological red flags and just relationship red flags. Like there's things that you really have to stay focused on when you're like choosing an ideal partner. And I'm not trying to make this the focus of the video, like relationships and stuff, because we've talked about that before. It's just a really big one that comes up because we get overwhelmed with emotions. We get overwhelmed with feelings like when we're in a new relationship with somebody, and so it can be daunting and it can be confusing and frustrating, trying to get to know somebody and really understand who they are besides the illusion. You know, what's underneath like some of those layers of skins, like we gotta peel it back like an onion, right? Like there's so many layers to an onion. Some of these people really are some stinky onions too. So, but that's neither here nor there. The the thing is you have to trust yourself when making decisions like this, and allowing people to, be a part of your energy space, because there's so many conflicts, there's so much struggle and so much, you know, bullshit in the world. We don't want to allow our partner to be somebody who's constantly like, making the world harder for us. That's really why I want to focus on that aspect, just because it's the one that comes up the most, because we get so caught up in emotions and feelings and we look past everything even though it's right there in our face. So it's really important to consider like some things that you may want to figure out about somebody. And the karmic situationship is what I like to call them. The situationship will really teach you a lot about other people, but really teach you a lot about yourself too, because a lot of your flaws, a lot of your downplayed emotions will come through pretty heavily in a situation like that, situationship. So you have to really consider, like, that you may have some emotional baggage as well, because that's what we're here to clear out. We're here to clear out karma, clear out karmic ties, break these trauma bonds. And so you have to start recognizing patterns, and you have to recognize them in yourself and through other people, because more than likely, like literally like 99.99999% of these karmic relationships will be a mirror of you. So you will see a lot of other people's flaws, or you'll see your own flaws in other people, and you'll see your own your own responses. You'll see your own attitude towards things in other people that you're relating to, because they're here to mirror you. That's like the entire purpose of the karma, is to mirror what you were going through and what you were re-experiencing, especially because you get these like karmic loops, the karmic cycles that are hard to break. So you like, until you've heard this one before, I'm sure, like until you learn the lesson, you're going to meet them in a different person. So like until you finally get that in your skull, like it's going to keep happening to you. And that's what a karmic loop is, what a karmic cycle is. So it's really important to recognize that, because if you're going through the same situationship over and over again, there's some things that you should probably consider about yourself and things that you want to reflect on. And a lot of that will be really it will be in your face. Like, more than likely, it won't be something that you're confused about. It won't be something that you have to second guess, even though your tendency may be to second guess yourself. But like, let's be real. Like, our first thought will usually be the right thought. Like the whole thing, going back to it, like people like will show you who they are the first time, and it's a matter of you to really recognize that they're gonna show you who they are the first time. And unless they're really narcissistic and really deep in there, that's a whole other thing. But like, you're going to see a lot of their own characteristics and their own flaws, and it is your responsibility to recognize those patterns and take heed of the warning, because that's going to, well, I mean, one, you're not going to be able to change that person. That's not the point of a karmic situation. You're not going to ever be able to heal them. You're never going to be able to fix them. That's not something that you'll never be in, that situationship where that's your job, that's your purpose. Like, that's never going to work out for you, babe. I love you, guy, girl, whoever you are. Don't do it. It ain't worth it, and it ain't gonna happen, I promise you. So it's not about the other person, and I know this one's gonna be hard to swallow, but it's about you. It is about you. It is about your own inner growth. It is about you as a person, your reactions, your responses, your communication barriers, your pedestals that you hold people up on, because this is a really big one too with karma. Like, we hold people up in high regard, and we have such high expectations for other people, and then we get we end up hurting ourselves that way, because we have such high regard and high expectations for people. And I'm not saying that you should not be expecting things from people. You should be expecting integrity, you should be expecting respect, you should be expecting your boundaries, respecting your boundaries, and they should be respecting your boundaries, and all those other things. I'm not saying that you should just like disregard any of that, but you have to really recognize that this is about you and your own growth, and seeing your own potential in relationships, but also recognizing the things, your shadow, because it's all about shadow healing. And yeah, we love our shadow, and there are things about our shadow we should always respect and love and take care of, because it is a pleasure filled world, when you start to really tap into that aspect of yourself. But like when we're really looking for like some soul companionship, especially like the karmic lesson is there to teach you about like self-love, self-care, because we'll go through like these really hard karmic relationships, especially if you're an old soul, man. I swear some of these are really hard to like, and especially like when you have high intuition, you almost like, it's not like you're wanting to victimize yourself, totally not the thing, but it feels almost like you are in a lot of ways because you've already recognized the patterns. But it's really not about you being a victim. It's not about the world trying to be out to get you. It's really just so you really hone in on this skill and understand that you can use this skill to help other people, teach other people, like, how to respect their own boundaries and take care of themselves, because we have such high expectations for other people because of the way we grew up, or we just want the world to work out a certain way, a specific way, and it's just never going to. The more we fight that, the more we struggle with that, and just don't like let things go, like the more internal battles we'll have with ourselves. So just really understand that it's about like cutting ties and cutting loose of like old connections that are toxic, that don't really give you value or purpose in life. And it's not like you should be looking for somebody who's going to give you purpose or value or validate you in any way. That's not what I'm saying either. But like if they're not filling your cup and you're not filling their cup, and it's just this like constant conflict, like there's not a whole lot of value towards that relationship or the friendship or whatever it is. Like you really got to cut connections with people who are going to drain you, and that is something that is very hard to realize, because a lot of the time these people will be broken in a lot of ways, and they will be struggling internally and hurting. They may be like depressed, they may have narcissism, they may have like some internal pain, they may have had like a really hard childhood or something. But that's like, it's not like the thing where we want to fix somebody either. Sometimes that is kind of, our inner thing, like we have this deep sense of like empathy, and we want to connect with them, and heal them and be there for them. But like most of the time people don't have gratitude for that sort of thing. They don't respect that because they can kind of see and feel that you recognize this in them, and so they feel that you are trying to fix them, and they can feel that and they get turned off by it. So that's just a really big one. Like, maybe it might be beneficial, maybe it may be the healing process that a lot of us need, but when people start recognizing that in other people, like they get turned off, and they kind of like do that whole running thing, the running aspect with like, the twin flame, like the runner and chaser thing. That happens with soulmates too, though. But like people will run away because they can feel you trying to empathize with them. So it's just, you gotta have that, self respect and dignity, that, just because you want to be there for somebody doesn't necessarily that they want you to be there for them. A lot of the times people have like this trauma from their childhood, and they have like these core attachments to fixing everything themselves and being there for themselves and not having any help from the outside world. But a lot of the times too, people don't recognize that they get a lot more help from the outside world than they actually pay respect to. Because this world, first of all, doesn't operate on its own. Like, you are getting a coffee every day, at that local gas station or whatever. Somebody brewed that coffee for you. Like, somebody mined that oil so you could drive your way over to that gas station and grab your cup of coffee. Oops, I'm so sorry. And so like there are these like important things that you got to really like look at the bigger picture with, and that takes a lot of patience with yourself, because you're going to have to meditate, you're going to have to do some like less overthinking, and you're going to have to just reach into the bigger picture. You're going to have to just branch out and look outside of your little comfort zone box and just try to see it from a different person's viewpoint. And sometimes that's really hard. most of the time it's really hard because you're never really going to conceptualize what somebody else is thinking about or how they feel or what their experience is, but it is very ideal if you want to kind of branch out of your own like mind and consciousness and be able to kind of have more not even just empathy, but be able to have like this ground core value for like the world and how it works. Like you got to like understand that, just because you were always there for yourself and nobody was there to like, give you the love and comfort that you wanted as a kid, like that doesn't necessarily mean that you've been doing this your whole life by yourself. I love you, but there have been so many times that you were getting help from your friends through conversations, getting help from your parents, like like and maybe, yeah, it's not the love, the core love that we really were looking for or wanting from that person, but a lot of the times they were going through some things too. And when we're breaking karmic cycles, we have to start recognizing the entire picture, the bigger picture, like the past traumas, like from the Industrial Revolution goes really deep, and like just the way people conceptualized marriage and like work ethic, and like nowadays too, like everybody works like um these really long hours, they're underpaid and stuff, and we're trying to branch out of this old 3D dynamic. Like there's too much pain and there's too much struggle, and that's what we're trying to overcome, and collectively we have to do that individually. Like I know that seems like kind of, I don't know, maybe it sounds redundant or something, but like from an individual perspective, you have to start actually going into yourself and realizing that there are things that you have to internalize and heal on your own. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing it all yourself. I mean, you're here watching this video. I'm not helping you, but I'm giving you advice, and you're listening to the tips, and it's not like, you have to pay all this respect and love towards me. That's not what I'm saying, but like you have to understand that the world doesn't just operate on its own. It's not just you against the world, babe. You have people out here that maybe they don't know who you are on a core level. Maybe they're not able to, respect you and love you and see you the way that you see yourself, but they are still here for you. They are still going through their own things. They still have their own life to deal with. And, maybe it's not what we want to hear, but it's something that we have to be okay with. Something that we have to accept in life is that we cannot change other people. We cannot change or view their own dynamic. We have to just understand that people operate different and give them the space that they deserve and need, and like go our own ways when we have to take our own path. Because if some people are not meant for our entire like path, they're just there for the ride, and eventually they get off the ride and it's you operating the whole roller coaster, and some people are gonna fall off, unfortunately. That sounds a little scary, now that I'm thinking about that, but like, you know what I mean? Like, not everybody's gonna be there for the entire ride. So, be able to accept that, be able to like sit with that and understand that, there's a lot of gratitude in that too, because, we had this little bit of their life and we were a part of it, and it was really cool, it was really special, but it's time for a new chapter. It's time to move on. We're breaking karmic ties. They were a really important lesson. They taught us a lot about self-love and self-care and taking heed to our own intuition. So, it's just, don't go in it with resentment. Don't go in it with like this pain and like you're not going into these karmic, we're not breaking karmic ties to wound ourselves further. We're here to fix those wounds, to heal those wounds and get past all of that. So don't hurt yourself by hurting yourself. I hope that makes sense, because like the redundancy of the trauma bond is very, very, very deep, and you really have to be careful with that sort of thing, because we don't want to continue like hurting ourselves, hurting our own emotions by being attached to these people who don't serve real value or see our value, because that does happen. Uh, a lot of times, because there's a lot of brokenness in this world, and we're trying to fix a lot of really, really deep things here on earth. So just understand that and be okay with it, because when you are finally okay with it, you will have such a freer mind, you will have such freer emotions, and you won't feel so stuck, you won't feel so attached, and you will understand that there's so much more to experience, that you're not allowing yourself, you're limiting your belief system about the world. And because I've seen so many beautiful stories come from so many random people who like have kids, who don't have kids or can't have kids or don't have like certain limbs, and they still do so much in their life, and it's just something to not compare yourself to, but like to understand, like, you could be putting these limitations on yourself that don't actually exist. There may be some like invisible like ropes that you're tying yourself with, and it's really our jobs individually to remove those ropes, because that stuff, at the end of the day, it won't matter. You're gonna forget about it like here in a couple weeks, or it'll come up again, probably, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be something that you need to dwell over, and a lot of the things that we end up dwelling over are usually smaller things that can be avoided. I know that one's the hard one to really understand and deal with, but it's true. Like, some of these things that we stay stuck with or stay attached to, it's just us individually. Like, we are so in our comfort zone, and so we're like, yeah, this is cool. I'm gonna stay here and keep doing this. But yeah, it kind of hurts a little bit. But I'm gonna keep doing it because I'm comfortable doing it, and it won't really matter to me. So who cares? But no, that's not healthy, and that's a big part of the karmic lesson, is a karmic cycle. So don't force yourself to be in a karmic cycle because you're comfortable with it. Like, that's it. Sometimes they're small, don't get me wrong, but you don't have to be there. You don't need to be there. What value are you really receiving from being there doing that? Like, I don't know. So karma is a very, very big one. And then like we can get into like a little bit of like witchcraft and wanting to bring karma into other people and their wounds, because they will not heal the things that we recognize in other people. So we want to have these like spell jars and put these people in a jar. Totally understandable. I've done it before. Won't say names. But like it's important to understand and recognize that part of you too. Like, are we stuck dwelling on wanting to fix everything in the world? Is that consuming us, or are we just doing it because we know how karma works? Because I mean, there's two sides to that story too. By the way, like, I'm not telling you to not mess with karma magic at all, because if you know how karma works, go for it. Because some people do deserve some karma. There's some bad people out there in the world, so just don't make it your life mission, don't make it your life mission to eliminate the pain and suffering in the world, because that can consume the hell out of you, and that is a big one in karmic loops. It is not your job to be like this superhero in the world. Like, take care of your own mental space. If you are doing that sort of karma magic too, like, you need to recharge yourself, and you need to kind of be separate yourself from other sort of events just for a little while the karma passes, so nothing really crazy happens to you. So, a little warning. But yeah, so just being careful with the karmic magic that you work with too is very big and important too. But like, um, yeah, the biggest thing is recognizing this stuff in yourself. Because again, like, the world is always going to be a mirror, like, no matter what you're going through or struggling, especially with other people. And you'll see that when you start recognizing the mirror effect, you'll start being like, oh, this is what this crazy white blonde bitch was talking about. Sorry, cursing. But like, that's seriously like, there's things that you can start to recognize, and when you start recognizing them, it's so much freer, it's so much more healing will come along with that when you start actually taking heed to the patterns and the cycles. Then you will be able to just be like, yep, nope, I'm not going to deal with that. Nope, I got something better to do. I'm going to go and paint and draw and build and do some other things that are constructive, because this is just slamming my juice. I don't know what slamming my juice means, but you know, this is my juice box. You can't have any. Those things are limited anyway. My juice box. Something like that. But so just be careful with karma. Be careful with karmic people and cycles. If you start recognizing it, eliminate it. Uh, I can't stress that enough because it's going to not feel so easy at first. You may feel like this struggle and this attachment. But get past that. Get past your attachment. Get past that ego. Get past that feeling of being lost or empty because they are either not there or you're just out of your comfort zone. You've removed yourself from a situation. Like just because it feels different doesn't necessarily mean that it's like bad or that there's anything bad happening. That could just be your emotions coming through, which are they're totally valid, don't get me wrong, but like sometimes we just need some time to heal and process things and be okay with the change, because the transition period is overwhelming because there's emotions involved. There's your feelings and emotions are involved. New environments can be involved, new people, new places, new things. So it's overwhelming. There's a lot going on at first, and so it can be like, oh, I don't, this isn't, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good to me because I feel different. And so it can be scary, it can be overwhelming and stressful at first, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the situation is getting worse, okay? You could be changing your environment for a very healthy reason because you had to be removed from things. There are people out there who have really core attachments to pain and trauma, and so they'll stay with somebody who is abusive and painful. I was just watching a video, my Netflix show about this yesterday too. It was about domestic violence. Like people get like what's called Stockholm syndrome, and so they'll feel empathy, they'll empathize with their captor, and that's just something. This is an extreme one, by the way, but it's like something to think about. Like you will feel empathy and you'll empathize with your captor, and that's like like so you don't want to blame them, you don't want to victimize yourself, and it's yeah. So just something to think about. I hope you guys liked today's video. I'll get more into karma and karmic clearing and healing. I just wanted to give you a little quick 101 before we dive deeper into some of these things. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you guys do want any bookings for tarot, I'm actually going to be doing a discount this coming next week, not this week, but next week. So just pay attention. I'll keep warning you guys. I'm going to write it down in my journal. So yeah, you guys can get like a nice 20% discount off of a tarot reading, and then I do spell work and other karma clearing and healing, energy healing. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments or want me to cover anything specific, leave them down in the comment section below. And do not forget to hit that like button. Bye.